I have 12 settings that you need to adjust on your Apple TV. Let's get to them. The very first setting you need to change is in the Settings app. Go to General, go to Appearance, and here you have a few different options. The first option is Light, which is what you're seeing now. If you switch it to Dark, Automatic will set it to switch depending on your time zone. So during the day, it'll be light mode. During the night, it'll be in dark mode. This comes down to personal preference. I personally prefer dark mode, so I leave it on dark mode. The next setting to adjust is under Video and Audio. And this is where you set the format of the video for the menus in your Apple TV. Now, there's a few different options here. So you have 4K HDR, which is what mine is currently set to, but you also have 4K SDR. This one, I recommend setting it to 4K Dolby Vision if your TV or projector supports it. If it doesn't, then 4K HDR is probably your better bet. But you can play around with these. You can try 4K SDR, see how the menus look, and then see if you prefer HDR. Now, again, because I have a Dolby Vision compatible projector, I'm going to select 4K Dolby Vision. The screen goes blank, and what it does is it switches over to Dolby Vision, and then if your TV or projector is compatible with what you selected, then you get this option where you confirm that you're actually seeing a picture, and then you hit OK. Now, if your TV or projector is not compatible with the format that you selected, then your screen would just stay blank. You wouldn't do anything, and the timer would click down, and then it would revert back to the previous setting. But for me, I like 4K Dolby Vision for my menus, so I'm going to leave it set to 4K Dolby Vision. Now, this next setting is something that really causes a lot of frustration for people. When you are in an app, let's just go here to Hulu. So we're here in Hulu. We'll just grab a random movie. We'll do Brad Pitt in Bullet Train. We'll hit Watch Movie. And then you'll notice that the screen goes black. And it actually pops up that error message that was from my projector saying basically no signal is being received. So for a moment, it was blank. Now I'm going to exit out of the video. We'll see what happens. It goes blank again. You have this momentary pause, the error message, no signal, and then it pops up. What is happening here is the projector is having to switch formats. It was under one format on the menu, but then when you switch to the video, it's switching to a different format. So there's pros and cons to both settings, but I'm going to show you how you adjust this setting. We'll go back to the Settings app, and we'll go to Audio and Video, and under this option, Match Content, there's two options. One is to set for Match Dynamic Range, and the other is Match Frame Rate. If these are set to on, then it's going to switch the format depending on what the source format says. So when we selected that video, that Bullet Train video, the format for that was different than the video format for the menu in Hulu. And so there was a momentary pause while the projector, or if you have a TV, it'll do the same thing. It has to switch between those two formats because I have it set to match the dynamic range and the frame rate of whatever video I'm watching. But you can turn these off. So I'm going to turn these off, and now we'll go back to that same video, and I'll show you how it looks. We'll go over here to Bullet Train, hit Watch Movie, and you'll notice the screen does not go blank. There's no video pause because it's not switching to a different format. Now we'll exit out of this, and you'll see there's no pause, right? So the pros and cons to this are this. If you have it turned off, then the screen doesn't go blank for a moment when you're switching between formats. The downside to it, though, is you might not be getting the exact video that you're supposed to, because the Apple TV is applying a format to a video that may not be the actual format. So it really comes down to personal preference. But if you're getting pauses, the video goes blank screen when you're switching between formats, this is what is causing that. And the way you solve it is by going into your Settings app to video and audio, and then for match content, turning it off for both dynamic range and frame rate. The next settings are dealing with the audio. So go to settings, video and audio, and then scroll down to audio format. You want this to say auto. If you have auto disabled, then you're not going to be getting the true sound that is in the source material that you're watching or listening to. So if I tried to change the format, so it's change format is set to off, which is what you want. But if I tried to change this to on, I would get this warning and it says, are you sure you want to change the audio format? This will reduce audio quality and disable Dolby Atmos. You do not want to do that. So I'm going to hit cancel. So you want this to be set to off and you want Dolby Atmos to be set to on. And down here in audio format, you want it to say auto Atmos available. These other settings below the audio format, these are enhanced dialogue and reduce loud sounds. Now, here in my theater, because I have a highly tuned surround sound Dolby Atmos setup, I actually want these disabled. Because my sound, I have it set up the way I want it. But if you're watching on a TV or maybe even a sound bar, these can be helpful. So this enhanced dialogue, it's self-explanatory. You want to be able to hear the dialogue better, then you can adjust it. And it's not just an on-off. You have variation. So you have enhance, and then you have enhance more. So it comes down to personal taste. You can select enhance. If you still want a little bit more, set it up to enhance more. And then the same thing goes with reduce loud sounds. Now, what this means is you're watching a movie and you crank it up so you can hear the dialogue, and then suddenly an explosion happens and it blows the roof off your house. And you're like, that's way too loud. I don't want that. You want to even out the sounds to make it more stable and consistent across the entire soundtrack. Then you would turn reduce loud sounds on. Now, again, this is mostly relevant if you have a TV, possibly a sound bar. But other than that, I would leave these off. Now, navigation clicks, I have these currently set to on, but I'm going to turn them off because I don't like hearing the clicks when I'm scrolling around the menu. The next settings deal with privacy. Now, I have notes for this one because I want to make sure I get this one right. You go to the settings, general, and then privacy. So down here, it's labeled privacy and security. You hit that. Location services, you want to turn these off. And this turns it off for Siri and all other apps. Now, sometimes you may encounter an app that requires location services. Like for instance, if you're trying to watch a football game and the app is requiring to know where you're located so they can determine whether you're allowed to watch it or not, you may get an error message that says, we need to know your location for this. If you do get that error message, this is where you would then enable or disable depending on the requirements of the app. The next setting is with Share Apple TV Analytics. So down here, you want to turn this off. You do not want to send this to Apple. The next one is Improve Siri and Dictation. I turn this one off as well. And the last one is Tracking. Hit that. And then allow apps to ask to track. You want this to be turned on. You want all of your apps where you ask them not to track you. And so all of my apps that I've got listed here, you'll notice they all say ask not to track, but you can toggle back and forth. If it says allow, click it, and then it will set to ask not to track. So this next feature deals with how the apps are visible when you are selecting them. So you'll notice I've selected the settings app right here. I'm hovering over it. But if I switch to this folder, then it makes it a little bit larger. And then when I go to Movies Anywhere, it makes that one a little bit larger, which is visible, but it's not super visible, right? So there is a way where you can make it even more visible. So you go into settings, and then you go to accessibility, and then you go to display right here, focus style. Select focus style and change it to high contrast. And after you do that, you'll immediately notice the difference. Go back to the home menu. So now you'll see that instead of being larger, the app now has a border around it, which makes it a little bit more visible than previously. So this comes down to personal preference. If you prefer it to just be slightly larger when you're hovering over it, then you would turn that feature off. If you prefer the border, turn it on. Now, this next one is kind of interesting. Unfortunately, it's not available in all apps, but it is available for sure, I know, in the Apple TV app. So we're going to open up the Apple TV app, and then we'll just select a random movie, and we'll have it start playing. And then while the movie is playing, just tap. So don't press, don't click it, but just tap the scroll pad on your Apple TV remote and then scroll up, and over here in the corner, select that picture in picture button. So now you've got the movie playing down here, and you can go back to the menu. You can have access to all of your other apps. You can open up other apps. You can open up other movies. You could be playing a game. If you're watching a movie, but you also have a game that you're trying to follow, you could set the game down there in the corner, and you can actually move it around if you want to. Now it's moving right there because I'm scrolling onto apps that are behind it, so it kind of moves it out of the way. And when I move out of the way or scroll over, it'll move back down. Now, what you do if you want the audio from the video that's playing in the small picture, then you hit the home button and it switches over to that. And that gives you the option to close it, full screen, or to move it. Now, if you move it, you just click it. You can move it around the screen like that, which is kind of cool. And while you're there, and when you do that, I'm not playing the audio right now, but by hitting the home button, it now switches the audio to the small picture instead of what's happening on the larger screen. So this is kind of a cool feature. Unfortunately, it's not available on Hulu or Netflix or any of those, but it is available in Apple TV, and I think there are some sports apps where it's available. Now, this next one is pretty handy. If you go into an app like, say, Hulu, we'll just go in here, and then I'll show you. If you go over here to search, have have you ever gotten frustrated trying to type something from this? You have to scroll all the way across and select a letter, and then you're all the way back over to select the other letter. It's kind of a pain, right? So there is a way to make a better keyboard. So go back to set the settings app, and you go into general, and then you go down to keyboard layout, set to auto. I'm going to select grid, and then we'll go back, and based on the name, you can probably guess what it's going to look like. And now we have a grid, which this is a lot easier to navigate around. It doesn't take nearly as long to get to the various letters. That is the keyboard. And the last setting, this is pretty common knowledge. A lot of people know about this, but a lot of people don't. And that is to set up folders. So you'll notice that I have all these apps that are just loose on the home screen, but you can actually group them together. So I have a folder here. It's labeled entertainment. That makes it easy. So I can just go to all of the apps that are in that folder. Okay, well, how do you create a folder? Well, the easiest way is you just select an app and press and hold on it, and then it brings up this screen where you can edit home screen or move to. And if you select move to, you can move it to a new folder. You can create a new folder for it, or I can select entertainment and it will add it to this folder up here. There's another way to do it, which is by selecting edit home screen. Now it's kind of bouncing around and you can drag it around. And so I could drag it up here and put it in that folder. Or if I want to create a new folder, say I want to create a new folder with Peacock, I would just hover over the Peacock app. Boom. Now I've got a new folder, and then you hit the back button and it is now done. So now I'm back, and now I have two folders. They're both labeled entertainment, but yeah, you get the idea. So hopefully this was helpful, and hopefully this is something that you can change on your Apple TV to get the best performance and make it the most convenient and look the best. Thanks for watching.